I forgot to remind you to record. Thank you. That's important. If anyone has to leave early, we will be sharing this recording on YouTube, either through Chimp Haven or Save the Chimps' YouTube, but we will be sending out that link shortly. So, Cassie or Kate, do you think we should get started or wait another minute?
I think we can get started. We've got 30 of us that have joined. We may get more rolling in, but yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, let's get started then. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for this special holiday edition of the Chimpanzees in Need Insider Briefings. You will be muted. If you've heard me say it already, I have to say it again for everyone. You are going to be muted, but you can ask us questions as we go in the chat box, or at the end of the meeting, we have time for some question and answering. So my name is Erica Fleury. I serve as the program director of the North American Primate Sanctuary Alliance, or NAPSA. We are a coalition of the leading primate sanctuaries on the continent who care for over 800 rescued and retired apes and monkeys. Since 2019, we have been involved in helping to place the wildlife way station primates. And in early 2020, we began leading the Chimpanzees in Need emergency rescue fundraiser. So because this is special holiday time, I had someone send me this lovely hat, and I thought it was appropriate to wear it just for a minute because we're talking primates here, and it's December, and we brought them home for the holidays. But it's really ridiculous, so I'm not going to leave it on very long. And today we have help to run this meeting. We have Cassie Carter and Kate Efland, who are our fundraising consultants. So they're running things behind the scenes, and you may see them answering questions and helping us out to make this all work. But I'm also joined today by Ed Pert of the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, Michelle Reininger of Chimp Haven, and Ana Paula Tavares of Save the Chimps. So I'll let them introduce themselves a little bit now, and we'll start with Ed.
Yeah, thanks, Erica. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ed Pert. I'm the regional manager and the way station project lead for the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. I'm also the point person for the LA Mountain Lion P22, and some of you may have heard of that. And I may need to jump off this call if something critical happens, so I want to apologize in advance if that happens. And I think, Michelle, you're up next. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. My name is Michelle Reininger. I'm the colony director at Chimp Haven. I've been with Chimp Haven now for approximately the last 10 years. And I basically serve as the head of the husbandry department here at Chimp Haven, overseeing the care of the chimps. So I'll hand it over to Ana Paula.
Hi, I'm Ana Paula Tavares. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here again. I am the Chief Executive Officer at Save the Chimps, and have been with Save the Chimps since January 2021. And Save the Chimps is a 150-acre sanctuary caring for 228 chimpanzees in Fort Pierce, Florida, and thrilled to have welcomed 7 of the wildlife way station chimpanzees and to have worked with this team to make it all happen smoothly and nicely.
Thank you. I have some really great guests today, and Ed really is in demand today. If you're in LA, you've seen him on the news and in the paper. And so if he does get pulled away, I wouldn't be shocked, but we're happy to have all 3 of you with us. And we're just so excited to be here anyway, highlighting the very exciting progress that Chimpanzees in Need has made, along with our partners, Chimp Haven and Save the Chimps, and so many others. And so many of you have been with us since the very beginning, and we're so grateful over these last 3 years to have collected such a large group of supporters. And we're at a really exciting point because finally every chimpanzee has been rehomed from the wildlife way station. We have to celebrate because this is huge. And, you know, those of us who have been working on this since day one just couldn't even imagine how we would get to this point. So it feels like a dream. You'll hear more about it today and what else is needed to wrap up the campaign, because we do still have a little bit of work ahead of us. But we're thrilled to be here and know that these chimpanzees are safe and thriving. And it's all because of you, the donors, who made it happen. So today's briefing will highlight the efforts to wrap up operations at the Wildlife Way Station, what comes next for their dedicated staff, and what we have left to do to finish out this campaign. And of course, we're excited to hear from Michelle and Ana Paula about how the way station chimps who were rescued this year are doing at their sanctuaries. And we'll hear from Ed about the progress towards closing down the way station. So before I pass it over to Ed, I want to catch everyone up to how we got to this point and the current status of the campaign. So for those of you who might not know all the details, the Wildlife Way Station was an unaccredited refuge and was not a member of NAPSA, but when they announced their sudden closure over 3 years ago, NAPSA quickly got involved with the placement efforts. A lot of other organizations across the country did because there were 480 animals on site. While most of them were successfully placed at reputable sanctuaries, and we were happy to find homes for 16 monkeys that were also there, there were 42 chimpanzees in 2019 with nowhere to go. Now, the chimpanzees couldn't stay at the way station for many reasons, including outdated infrastructure, an insufficient water source, an extreme fire risk of the area, which had caused the way station to need to evacuate numerous times over the years, and a lack of funding, of course. So when the way station shut, all accredited, reputable chimpanzee sanctuaries were at capacity. They couldn't take any more. And physical expansions were necessary to fit in more chimpanzees who require very specialized, expensive care and housing. And so a fundraiser was necessary. So Chimpanzees in Need began with a grant from the Arcus Foundation, which permitted NAPSA to organize things and hire consultants like Cassie and Kate to direct the fundraiser and ensure its success. We've since hired PR consultants and have amassed this whole group of people supporting this effort. It's fiscally sponsored by a conservation-based nonprofit called Seventh Generation Advisors and is an ongoing collaboration between NAPSA, California Department of Fish and Wildlife, the sanctuaries taking the chimpanzees, the Wildlife Way Station itself, international chimp experts like Dr. Jane Goodall, and the national experts who have overseen our placement decisions, as well as the foundations and donors who are making it all work. We've said all along that it takes a village, and it has absolutely taken a village to get us to this point, and we're so glad that you're part of it. So thus far, the Chimpanzees in Need campaign has raised over $4.2 million and rehomed all 40 of the chimpanzees. This is just as of about 2 weeks ago, the last chimps left the way station. Earlier, I mentioned 42 chimps, and that's because 2 of them had passed away of medical reasons at the way station. So we weren't able to help them, but we did rehome all 40. Here's where they went. So before our fundraiser was fully organized, 3 of the chimpanzees were quickly moved to AZA accredited zoos, and 3 were sent to Primarily Primates, a sanctuary in Texas. The remainder of the chimps all went to NAPSA member sanctuaries. So that's 9 at Chimpanzee Sanctuary Northwest in Washington, 8 at Center for Great Apes in Florida, 7 at Save the Chimps in Florida, and 10 at Chimp Haven in Louisiana. This year, in 2022 alone, we had a lot of victories to celebrate. Save the Chimps joined our campaign just this year and quickly set about moving 7 of the chimps in July. And so they were flown via FedEx, and you're going to hear about that. What a wild adventure that was. We celebrated the successful transport of the Treetop 10 to Chimp Haven. And we had lots of exciting media coverage, including a big article in National Geographic, a follow-up to our 30-minute NBC special, and a big article in the LA Times just a few weeks ago. But today, we're going to focus on the chimpanzees who we moved in 2022. It's important to also keep in mind, though, that the chimps we moved prior to that are no less deserving of recognition. Luckily, our friends at Center for Great Apes and Chimp Sanctuary Northwest keep everyone updated on how they're doing, and I encourage you to follow their social media accounts. Chimpanzee Sanctuary Northwest has a fantastic blog that they update just about every day with some great photos and videos, and you can see how the chimps are doing. And it's heartwarming, just like the stories you're going to hear today. When you see the chimpanzees walking on grass for the first time in their lives, it changes you, and it reinforces exactly why we've been doing this for 3 years. So this holiday giving time, we're really excited to see support for the campaign building as we get so close to the finish line. Although the chimps are all safe and we can all breathe a collective sigh of relief about that, we're still dedicated to raising funds the sanctuaries need to care for their new arrivals. We have less than $465,000 to go. And every dollar right now is actually doubled up to $150,000, thanks to the continued generosity of the MPEWS Foundation. You can donate through our website, chimpsinneed.org, which is also available on our social media channels. So if we still have him, which is great, I'm going to let Ed talk about what it's been like safely closing down the wildlife way station.
Yeah, thank you very much, Erica. And again, thanks everyone for joining us and all your support. So just in case some of you are new here and haven't heard this before from me, CDFW became involved with Wildlife Way Station when they closed down because they basically lacked the funds to continue to care for the animals there. And this was after they hired a new executive director that followed Martine Collette's retirement. She was the original founder and had been there since 1976. And so at that time, the Wildlife Way Station, they surrendered their restricted species permit to the department. And at that point, we became totally responsible for the animals there. And the very beginning was difficult. We didn't have any budget for this. We just managed to get through it somehow. There were some very scary times as we tried to figure out how we're going to pay for this and that. But after the first year, the state budgeted about $1 million a year for this project, which still to me seems extraordinary. I don't know that there would be many other states that would do this. And this money allowed us to raise funds for moving the chimps instead of spending the money on animal care and things like that. And also, it's important to note that the Wildlife Way Station staff were paid for by the Wildlife Way Station, who were continuing to get donations during that time. And those staff were amazingly dedicated, as I think most of you know. They didn't hesitate to stay at the Wildlife Way Station, even if they were going to be, losing their pay or their pay was going to be reduced. They just said they were going to stay there. And I remember just being completely amazed at this fact early on. But as time passed and I got to spend time with them, it was pretty obvious that these people were just so dedicated to the animals that it wasn't a surprise to me after a while. That's just the way they are. And these folks are heroes. There's just no doubt about it. They really are. And at this point, the remaining staff are working to close down the facility. They're selling off materials that remain there that they can make some money off of. And they're generally cleaning up to prepare for the permanent closure of the Wildlife Way Station. I also know, like me, that people are wondering what the staff are going to do. At my last visit to the Wildlife Way Station, I asked Silvio, who's been there for 36 years, which still amazes me, he sort of how people were doing and what people were thinking about at that time. And he said to me that when the Wildlife Way Station first was going to shut down, the staff were nervous because they didn't know exactly how long this was going to take, where they were going to go, what was going to happen with the animals and all of that. But because the effort's taken 3.5 years, they've all had time to figure out what they're going to do next and to sort of deal with the emotional aspects of leaving the animals and leaving the Wildlife Way Station. So they all have basically had time to figure out what their future plans are. And from what I know, all of them are landing on their feet, which is fantastic. Many of them have been offered jobs at other animal facilities. I think some of them plan to take those. And that conversation with Silvio just made me happy because it seems like this took super long and we didn't expect that, and it's been difficult, but it really did help all those staff to make the adjustments they needed to make, to go through the emotional experience they needed to go through to end up in a good place. And Silvio is definitely clear about that. So that was great. I want to let you all know that. And then again, just thanks for joining today. We really, like Erica said, we can't do this without your support. And we're just really lucky that you're all part of the village that helped us get to the end here. And we just have a little ways to go, and hopefully we can get there sometime soon. So I think Michelle is up next. Michelle, do you want to go ahead? Thanks.
I have to unmute. Yeah, thank you, Ed. Hi again, I'm Michelle Reiniger. I'm the Colony Director at Chimp Haven. I'm very grateful to have been invited to give an update on the Treetop 10, who are our most recent arrivals here at the sanctuary. I've actually been with the sanctuary now for approximately 10 years, and we've brought in many, many chimps over the years. But this particular rescue was very special to all of us here, but especially to me as well, because I actually went through a similar experience prior to coming to Chimp Haven. And the facility that I closed with or I actually worked with, closed down. And I was very fortunate that Chimp Haven agreed to take in 5 chimps that I worked with and was very close to. And then they took me in as well. So I moved here to Louisiana and got a job. And so it was kind of a great experience to be able to turn around and help out another sanctuary when the opportunity arose. So Chimp Haven is currently housing over 300 chimpanzees. We're very fortunate that we are located on 200 forested acres in Keithville, Louisiana, which is just south of Shreveport. Our sanctuary is nestled in kind of in the midst of a 1,200 acre nature park, which is amazing because it allows us a lot of privacy from potential neighbors and so forth. We have, as I said, over 300 chimpanzees currently living at the sanctuary in many different types of enclosures. Our colony age is anywhere between 5 is our youngest, all the way up to 62. We actually have quite a few residents who are in their 60s currently. They are divided into nearly 30 social groups, and they range in size anywhere from 5 all the way up to 20. So we have a lot of different diversity within our groupings. So here at Chimp Haven, we like to dedicate ourselves to what we call living the chimp life. What that means to us is that we provide the best care that we can for the chimpanzees. We want to provide them with the freedom of choice, which is one of our big things here, is to give them freedom to choose. Do they want to be inside? Do they want to be outside? We've got different varieties of enclosures. So maybe they prefer something with a roof over it, maybe like the open topped enclosure. We have the ability to give access to different areas just to see who likes what. We also like to try to provide those different social choices. So we try to build up large family groups to give them that freedom to try to find that perfect match and that friend for life. And so they get that opportunity with the large social family groups that they can live with. So you can actually, here we are at the way station. We were contacted about the closing of the way station, which stimulated conversations within our organization to try to determine what steps we needed to take in order to be able to provide a new home for these chimpanzees that were in need. Basically, we just, through those conversations, eventually got to where we were able to get some dates on the calendar for making that trip to LA. And so we had a group of individuals who went out to LA in order to start organizing, loading up the chimps and bringing them back. You can see in these photos, our group right in the center included a veterinarian, member of our behavior staff, member of our caregiving staff, and then also a veterinary technician. And that was the group that traveled to LA and then brought the chimps back. And the photo on the right, you can actually see one of our transport cages that was being loaded or taken over to the truck for loading for the journey home. And so on the next slide, we have our team. They actually flew out to LA and then they rented a van, a large van that gave them plenty of room to relax in. They followed the transport trailer all the way back to Chimp Haven. It was a 1,600-mile journey, which is one of the longest journeys that we've made in order to go and transport chimpanzees. They got to see a lot of, sorry about that, a lot of beautiful countryside and had a really nice trip, making repeated stops throughout the journey in order to check on the chimps, give them some treats, and make sure everybody was doing well on the journey. And by all accounts, the chimps actually were very calm, very quiet on the journey, and just very relaxed. Very excited though whenever the door opened because they knew they were going to get some treats from all the fruits and such that were chopped up for the journey home. So the next slide, you can see with 36 hours later, they did arrive at Chimp Haven. They arrived here approximately 8:30 at night, so it was a little dark, but we had our unload crew waiting and they brought the chimps off in their transport crates one at a time. They were unloaded one at a time into individual bedrooms to begin with. That allowed our staff to get to know them a little better as well on individuals, to be able, our vet staff be able to look over them and make sure that everybody made the journey safely. And then after that, we opened up the doors in between the different bedroom areas and they were able to reunite. And that was a really happy time. It was really cool to see them. They were so excited to get back together. There were lots of hugs, lots of kisses, lots of laughing, panting. Mocha in particular, she really amazed me because our quarantine facility, it's 10 bedrooms, five on each side of a hallway. And then there's chutes that are up on top that connect the bedrooms. So there's lots, you can run from one to the other. And Mocha was on one end, and then suddenly she's on the other end. She's like a little mosquito just running around like crazy, greeting everybody and just checking out all of her new surroundings. So it was really, really cool to see how quickly she settled in. But yeah, the 8 that first came in, they came in November. You can see them, pictures of them here. There was Buster, Connor, December, Denise on the top row, Inky, and then Axel and Mocha. Mocha is the one that I said was running all over the place. She's the one on the right, grooming Axel. And then we also have Mr. Tequila. He's quite a character there, as you can kind of see from this picture. I think that says everything about him. But Buster is actually the alpha guy in charge, and he came in immediately when he was released into his bedroom. He started walking around bipedally, showing off, strutting his stuff, making sure everybody knew he was the guy in charge. And once we got everybody back together, everybody had to go running over to Buster and check in with him, make sure things were cool. He let everybody know that, yeah, that they were in a good place. They were settling in, and everybody felt safe once Buster gave it the okay. Inky down there on the bottom, very dark face. She has those soulful eyes. She likes to spend a lot of her time just kind of sitting and staring at care staff as we were getting to know her. And then I remember my first time meeting her, I went over to her and I was trying to kind of invite her to play, bob my head and was waving my arms and just trying to get her kind of interested in inviting and play. And she just wanted to sit and stare at me for a while. And then Connor, who's up on the top row, the second one over on the right, Connor actually came up behind her and was like, oh, I know what that means. And so Connor immediately started, let's play tag. And so we were running back and forth between the bedrooms. And then it was kind of funny because Inky was like, hey, wait a minute, she talked to me first. And so trying to be in 2 different places at the same time as you're trying to play with each chimp. But eventually they got in sync. And so we were all chasing around in the quarantine together. So they did a really great job just getting to know the area that they were in and getting nicely settled. And so they're really, really a great group. Really, really enjoy the different personalities, and they're very distinct, which actually helps us a lot for getting to know them. But then we welcomed our last 2. Moose and Amber just came in this month in December, only a couple weeks ago. And Amber was very, very quiet when she came in. She mostly just kind of sat and observed. But she is really, she's one of those kind of characters that just kind of sits back and waits. But if you talk to her long enough and you kind of give her that chance to get to know you a little bit, she starts to come out of her shell. And she really, really is a sweet, sweet chimp, sweet, sweet female. And Moose, he's just he's all in from the beginning. He ran around. He loves to play, loves to get his back scratched. I think when he first came in, we have these long handled spoons that we can scratch the chimps and interact with them. And he just immediately put his back to the mesh and let me sit there and scratch his back for several minutes, just enjoying and laughing and rubbing his back and forth. He is always in the middle of everything though. If anything's going on, this is front and center, what's going on, tell me all the gossip, spill the tea. He is right there for all of it. So really big character right there. But so moving on to the next slide. What's up next for the Treetop 10? Well, typically with these guys, they're going to be in our quarantine facility for 60 days. And that allows us a chance to get hands on them as far as to check their health status, make sure that they're not going to bring anything potentially into the rest of our colony. So far, looks really good. And then it also gives a chance for our different animal care departments to get to know the chimps. And then we'll be having many, many meetings in the next coming up the next weeks in order to discuss these guys to see what their personality types are, who we think they might mesh with, if we have other groups that we think we might potentially be able to join them to, so that we can get them into those larger social groupings, particularly Amber and Moose, who currently are just a pair. We want to get them into a big family so they can have, like I said, those opportunities to make those social matches and to find a friend who maybe will help them to just assert their personality so that they can live their best life. And so that's what's coming up for them within the next few weeks after they get out of their quarantine. Then we'll eventually move them into another area and give them that experience of living out on grass and having the time of their lives. So very excited to welcome them here. Very excited to have them and you have the opportunity to get to know them.
So it's music to my ears, Michelle. Thank you.
Yeah.
It really is. And, two things stick out to me when I heard your presentation. The first is the incredible dedication of the teams that transported these chimps. This was not an easy trip to make, and they were on the road for days with, I'm sure, very little sleep, kind of roughing it, all to make sure that these chimps were not roughing it. And, the chimps stayed happy and comfortable. And it was just really impressive to see the dedication of the Chimp Haven team to make this all work. And also, I think it's really important to point out what they're gaining, these chimps, by moving to these new homes, the diversity of social opportunities and the living situations. And Michelle mentioned, certain chimps have different preferences, just like humans. And some might want to be on grass all day long, or some might prefer to be indoors if that's what they're more comfortable with, but they'll have that choice and that chance to do what makes them most comfortable. When it comes to Amber and Moose, the two that were housed together at the way station, they're really going to benefit from having more social opportunities. And, just because the way station didn't have the resources or the space to do the types of introductions that larger sanctuaries can do, it takes a lot of time and expertise. And so we're just so glad that they'll be benefiting from this enriched opportunity at Chimp Haven. And moving on to Save the Chimps, they're going to be benefiting there too. So I want to hear from Ana Paula about life at Save the Chimps. You're muted.
Thank you, Erica, and wonderful to hear from you, Michelle. And it has been heartwarming and really inspiring to see the resilience and the adaptability of this group of chimpanzees. And I also had the wonderful experience to go to Wildlife Way Station and to be part of that group to bring them in to Save the Chimps. As I mentioned before, Save the Chimps is located in Fort Pierce, Florida, in 150 acres. And we have these 12 islands where large social groups live, and the chimps can live with as close to a life as they would have in the wild as possible, with no meshes, no enclosures. They are only separated by water. So it's really wonderful. And it's been really nice to see how well they are doing. And they have adapted well. They are relating wonderfully to our staff, to our team, and really engaging with them and interacting with them. And it's really wonderful to see. I don't have a whole lot on the journey, but it was pretty special as well. We had some of our team, and it really took a lot of us, everyone within our team, working to make this rescue happen, and including having a team bring all of these crates to build the special crates, and then bring them to LA from Florida, drive them all the way there, because we actually flew the Sunrise 7 from LAX to the Orlando airport by a FedEx plane. So it was all very exciting and really wonderful. And this is Shake. And the next video that I want to show you is Shake moving across, swinging across their yard. So this is the yard where 5 of them, the Magic's family, and this is Shake, one of the members of Magic's family, moving across, carrying her stuffed animal and some other belongings. It took them 17 days before they actually walked on grass. And that was amazing, because it was really amazing to realize, like, something as simple as walking on grass was not something common to them. They were living on cement for all or most of their lives. So it took them a while to build the courage to do that. Right now, they are all over the place, but they love to spend time in the canopy. And they also they have the freedom to sleep indoors, outdoors, even while they are in this quarantine space. but this group, the Magic's family, which includes Magic, Jeff and Ernesta, Magic's parents, and Vanilla and Shake, they spend most of their time in the outdoors. This is Ernesta, and this is amazing. So this took place right after that long journey from Wildlife Way Station to Florida, Save the Chimps. And as soon as Ernesta came out of the crate, this is what she did. So this is just inches away from the crate. She started making a nest, and you can see how comfortable she feels there, and checking her new surroundings. Very, very curious, of course. And we were gently telling her not to get too comfy, because that was not the place where she was going to stay. She's pant-hooting over there. And Ernesta is amazing. She's very protective of and very close to her daughter Magic, and very protective of Jeff, the alpha within their small family. And if you go to the next slide, you're going to see Magic. And Magic is quite a character. So on this one picture, she is playing with her mother, Ernesta, and Jeff is above them watching. So all very, very close. Now, Magic has a really interesting personality. So I'm going to give you an example. They are, so the Magic's family are in one of the yards, and next to their yard, we have the dynamic duo, Jacob and Caleb, the other two who came from the Wildlife Way Station. Well, Magic has been seen more than once interacting with Jacob from across the mesh, and she will give Jacob the blanket and kind of push a blanket through the mesh until he gets, and she plays a little bit with him and keep pushing until he pushes the blanket. And then she goes screaming all over the place, bloody, like just makes a whole scene about Jacob taking her blanket. We've seen that more than once. So quite a naughty girl, but she's wonderful, as are all of them. But it's really interesting to watch them and them play and just show their personalities. If you move ahead, we can talk a little bit. So this is Jacob, and Jacob was also really interesting. Jacob was one of the duos, have lived over the last 14 years with Caleb only at Wildlife Way Station. And here he is playing with his neighbor Tonka. And Tonka is a chimp that we rescued right before the Sunrise 7 arrived. So this is with no prompting. It's no staged, played, intentional interaction here. They were just neighbors. They found each other. They liked each other. They started hanging very close to each other, so they would sit across the mesh and just be next to each other, and started playing. And this is shortly after their Jacob's and Caleb's arrival. So if you, here they go, chasing each other, and quite amazing. And Tonka is a pretty special soul as well. So Jacob took, like the two of them just became immediate friends. If you move to the next slide. So this is Jeff, and Jeff is the alpha of the family, and quite strong leadership skills as well. Very kind. He has met Jacob, he has met Tonka, and really, really high chimp skills. You could see how he would establish himself. It was really amazing to watch him. he would be walking around with one of them. And then as soon as they would sit down, I think in this case was Tonka, he would just move and sit right where Tonka was sitting, kind of displace Tonka from where he was. And then the two of them would walk around again for a while. And then Tonka would sit and he would just go and just sit where Tonka was sitting and then offer his hand. Just amazing, the dynamics, but very gentle, very kind, Jeff, and very close to his 4 ladies, daughter and Ernesta, Vanilla, and Shake. If we move to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit. So this is Jeff doing a headstand and enjoying some string beans and doing his play date with Jacob. So the two of them knew each other from across rooms, but had never been together at Wildlife Way Station. So this was a positive interaction that they had. And if we keep moving along, this is the first time that actually Jacob and Tonka met, not from across the mesh, but had a play date. And of course, it was immediate bonding. The two have and are still getting along really well. And it's pretty amazing. Tonka was actually in a basement for a year before we rescued him. But the two of them, by their own personal choice, became very close. And then our plans like followed, because it was obvious that we had to put these two together. And they've been getting along really well. It was amazing because they had a play date. And then we separated them for a couple of days and had a second play date. And as soon as they saw each other, they embraced each other and went on to playing with each other again. So if you move to the next slide, this is Vanilla and Caleb. So Vanilla, a member of the family of 5, and Caleb, the dynamic duo with Jacob. And behind you see an aerial view of our sanctuary. Now, Vanilla is quite amazing what's happening right now. So Vanilla can see from where they are in that yard, the chimpanzees on Late's family, and it's actually the social group where they were going to end up with. And Vanilla is vocalizing with them, and Wally responds to them. So they're in separate place, but they can see each other. And she will pant hoot, or she will make calls, and Wally will respond, and Ace will display. And so all of this group of the family of 5 especially are already interacting with. I'm gonna turn on the light really quickly. It got really dark here, excuse me. So they are. It's amazing to see that they are already interacting even before they are placed together. But that's what we are planning.
The sound went out. Can you all hear her?
Sorry. So so it's amazing to see the interaction with Vanilla and all of them with the group that they're going to end up joining, hopefully very soon. And what we are excited is that there are tunnels connecting these yards where they are now and the island where they will be. So we won't need any anesthetizing, or it's not going to be a big deal. It's going to be very easy to make that interaction happen. Now, Caleb, I have a nickname for him. So Caleb has a very unique display. He will jump really high, and then he'll sustain the elevation, like kind of bounce up and then come down. So for me, he's Baryshnikov. He's quite a dancer. Like, I haven't seen many jump and sustain like their height for a while before they land. Quite amazing and really kind. And I think the last slide, this is Jacob, Caleb, and Tonka together, and they've been doing really well together. So they're already living together and enjoying each other's company. And we're planning to move the 3 of them to Doug's Island. And they are at the moment being trained, going into box and actually box training and spending 5 minutes, 10 minutes in the box, very comfortable. So very soon we'll be able to move these 3 to Doug's Island, where we have a majority of females, and there will be a good mix there. And we think that the dynamic will be just perfect. And we'll bring the other family of 5 with 4 females to Late's family with a large group of males and not enough females. So we're excited and grateful to have had the opportunity to welcome these wonderful beings to our sanctuary, and are just inspired by their resilience, and looking forward to continue to update you about them. And next time, maybe we'll show them in their 3 to 5 acre island living within a large family group.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much, Ana Paula. And I have to point out, I really have to commend the dedication of your staff too, to make this transport happen. I know it was an all-consuming affair to arrange the details to fly them over to Florida. And you know, the team, because there was Save the Chimps team that drove out with the caging and then stayed to be there for the transport and follow the chimps back. And it all worked out, but boy, did it take a lot of work. And we're so grateful that you did it. And it's also so exciting to see these chimpanzees swinging, you know, to see Shake swinging in that enclosure, because that's something they couldn't do with the way station. And to see Ernesta playing in the hay and building that nest around her, they also didn't have hay like that at the way station. I mean, they were lacking a lot. And to see them thriving now and enjoying all these new opportunities and really living a more enriched life is just it's just so heartening to see. So kudos to you, kudos to Chimp Haven for giving them these opportunities. We cannot thank you enough. So now that we have officially moved all of the wildlife way station chimpanzees, we have raised over $4.2 million. And that last bit of funds that we need, it's less than $465,000 now. We need that to ensure the ongoing care of the chimps for the next 12 months. So it costs about $25,000 per chimp to care for them for 1 year. And we are dedicated to providing that to each of the sanctuaries who are taking them in, because of course they're going to be caring for them for much longer than 1 year. But it's sort of, you know, we knew we couldn't provide all the care funds, and this is something we aim to do. So I want to point out that all funds raised go directly to the chimpanzee care and rehoming efforts. No humans are being paid through this fundraiser, and our fundraising partner, 7th Generation Advisors, is managing the funds pro bono. I hope you all will consider making a gift at chimpsinneed.org to support us and finish out this very ambitious campaign. And right now, as a reminder, we do have that match going from the MPU's foundation. So that means that every dollar up to $150,000 will be doubled. And so this is a busy giving time. We know that there are lots of causes that need help right now, and we appreciate your attention and your involvement to ensuring that the wildlife way station chimpanzees have this bright future that they're now finally starting to enjoy. Please share this opportunity with your friends and neighbors. We're so close to the end, and it's like within our grasp, right? And so every donation we receive, every dollar gets us closer to ensuring that these chimpanzees have the funds, that the sanctuaries have the funds to care for them for the next year. So now is a good time to open it up to the group for some questions. And I think it's, you know, we have everyone muted. I think it works best usually if we do the questions in the chat. Just because that way people aren't talking over each other. Cassie, if you disagree, it looks like you're nodding with me. Okay, then we'll do that. Okay, thumbs up. We did have a question about, do the chimps ever swim across the water at the islands at Save the Chimps to visit each other? And so I was able to answer that chimpanzees cannot swim, which is why you'll often see zoos using water moats as barriers, and that's why Save the Chimps does as well. Ana Paula, feel free to add anything to this if you'd like.
No, that's the correct answer.
Great. Let's see. I haven't had any other questions come in. I don't know if, Cassie, I'm guessing, did anyone message you separately with any questions?
I haven't seen any coming in at the moment, so I wanted to give everybody just a chance to think about what they wanted to know. Another question that we have for everybody here is, in the new year, we will have more stories about the chimpanzees and getting settled in at the different sanctuaries. Love to get a sense from people in the chat if another Zoom call like this with more stories is of interest sometime in January or February. Sort of thinking yes.
I think people love seeing, I know I love seeing these photos and videos. It just makes me smile. Here's a great, there's a yes, please, with more videos. And we have
and a couple thumbs up.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, and we have a question for Michelle and Ana Paula. Do the chimps get regular dental care?
I can respond for Chimp Haven that yes, they do. In fact, our vet, Dr. J, always says she didn't realize that she was going to be doing as much dentistry as she has done with the chimps. Our chimps are sedated once a year for an annual physical, like basically all over, checking out all of their organs, checking out their joints to make sure that they're not going arthritic. And then another key thing that they have to do is also they do teeth cleaning. And on occasion they have to do extractions, but mostly just the cleaning and that. And so you can tell, I mean, they've done a great job maintaining the dental health of all of our chimps.
We got another really fantastic question, Erica, that I think you will love to see. Are there ways to support the chimps after this campaign is over?
Very important question. Yes. So we are hoping, this campaign will end as a fundraiser as soon as we get that last $465,000 in. And then we absolutely encourage everyone and ask everyone to follow the chimps to whichever sanctuary strikes your fancy. Maybe it's all of them. Maybe it's one of them. Maybe it's the one closest to you. But they absolutely can use your help and your continued support to care for these chimpanzees. They all do a great job of sharing photos constantly on social media and through their emails, on YouTube as well. And so you can see how they're doing. Some of them, I mean, they all periodically also have donor days. Maybe it's once a year, maybe a little more, where they do carefully open up to donors so that you can see what's going on. And maybe you can even see your favorite chimp from a distance, enjoying some food or something. And so that can be really fun too. But yeah, that's always been a goal of this campaign, is to get more help for the sanctuaries, because they deserve it. They really stuck their necks out for these chimps, and we want to thank them for that. And hopefully they'll end up with some new fans.
Ed, you politely have your hand up.
Yeah, I saw, if it's okay, I saw that Suri Steele has joined us today. Suri works for the County of LA, and I just want to acknowledge that Suri was instrumental during some of those early difficult days of just getting through some very interesting and difficult circumstances, as well as making sure that we have the support of like the LA fire crews and things like that during the times when the fire risk was highest and things like that. So I saw her, Cerise, she was on here, and I just want to point that out. She's one of the real unsung heroes in this thing that is way behind the scenes, but thank you, Cerise, for all you've done. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ed. Can you all hear me? I'm a little bit technically challenged. I'm so glad that I'm on this call, and I mean, watching this is so amazing and so emotional, and the stories are like bringing tears to my eyes. I mean, what you guys do, and I mean, I've been involved with the Wildlife Way Station for a while, and when I first got involved, it was very difficult because all the parties were not getting along, and I'm talking about the different agencies and with the Wildlife Way Station people. But I got involved, and we got everybody on the same page. We were all communicating with one another really well, including the Wildlife Way Station staff. But for years, it seemed like there was nothing we could do. in that it was a very difficult situation. You know, the animals, and as you guys mentioned, there were a lot of them up there, like over 500 at one point. And, you know, we realized that they probably, you know, that the sanctuary wasn't up to, you know, standards. But they had been there for a very long time, and God loved Martine. She loved those animals, and you know, she did the best she could. And it was kind of like an impossible situation. But we were there and we tried to support it. And, you know, finally things happened toward the end that, you know, that we weren't involved in, but we were there when it started to fall apart. And thank God for, you know, Fish and Wildlife. I mean, they saved the day. And, you know, as Ed mentioned, and, you know, and then now we're here. I mean, it's just giving me chills, you know, listening to this. And I'm so thankful for all those chimps and where they're living, and that, I mean, I wish I could come out and visit, you know, each of, you know, your sanctuaries and meet with the chimps. I don't know. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Suri.
Thank you, Suri. Seriously, Suri and I were on the phone a lot of nights and crazy times, and just trying to get through some impossible situations. And Suri was one of these resources that I cannot explain how important she was to me and to the project at times. There were no answers to things, and Suri would just say, oh, let me talk to this person. I think I know this person who can help. So Suri, you played a huge role in this thing, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Ed. Thank you. I mean, it's just like you guys have been saying, it, you know, it takes a village, and truly it has. And it's, you know, this is, I'm toward the end of my career. I've done a lot for the county in all these years. And I mean, it really runs the gamut. But this is one of the most special things I think that I've been involved in. And we finally, you know, there's a good end to this, you know, unlike many of the things that I work on. It's just, you know, the problems continue. You know, for example, like homelessness, we're dealing with that right now. So, so this has just been a wonderful thing. So, thank you.
Thank you, Suri.
Thank you. I know those emotions. Ed might remember there was a time about a year and a half ago, we were being interviewed for an NBC special, and they asked me on camera, how would it feel when the final chimps leave? I'm getting emotional now. And I started bawling immediately. I didn't expect it. It hit me, and I couldn't even think about the relief and the happiness of knowing that we did it. And yet, and we're here now, and we did it. It's surreal.
Yeah. Truly is.
It really is. So thank you. It's been an emotional roller coaster.
What a wonderful way to close the year, and to also answer some of the other questions. Yes, we do care for offer dental care to our chimps. And the Peter Emily Dental Foundation is a team that comes in every once in a while, and we do like a lot of procedures, anything that it's needed. So we're very lucky to have their pro bono support, and have the pro bono support of several specialists who join our in-house team of veterinarians on the medical care, including dental care of the chimpanzees. And there is a question about, do they fight? So it's natural of chimps to go through altercations that happen more than once in a day. And this is natural behavior for chimpanzees. And it's the way that they establish and confirm their hierarchy. They live in hierarchical societies, and the way that they establish the alpha males in their hierarchy involves these altercations. And then they got to go through that process where they might have something going on and including a fight, and then they will make up and they will all sit together and groom each other, and then it starts all over again. So yes, they do. But I must say this group, the Magic's family, very mellow group.
I would add to that too, that chimps, yeah, definitely they're just very emotional a lot of times. Everything is a big deal. A lot of times the fighting is a lot of screaming and waving of arms, and it's just a lot of show. But one thing I have learned from chimps that I think that we can all learn from them is that they always make up in the end. They do not go to bed angry. They don't believe in carrying a grudge. And so I think that it's lessons that we can learn.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
A great message.
We had one question that I answered in the chat, but for those of you who maybe aren't looking at the chat, Sue Leary, who's been one of our repeat donors here with her organization AVS, she asked what the current match challenge is and the progress on that. So just to remind everyone, the current matching challenge, and we've had a few throughout, including from AVS, but right now the MPU's Foundation is offering to match every dollar raised up to $150,000. And we have a little less than $55,000 in towards that already. So we're making good progress, and with your help, we can make even more. And, you know, we've been saying for more than a year now, you know, just about every December, we've said, maybe we can get them all home for the holidays. And we weren't able to quite yet, right? Last year, we thought maybe, and then no. And this year we actually did. So it's just so great. I'm seeing some great comments in here about everyone who's been following us. And wow, someone used to care for Shasha, who's a chimpanzee who went to Center for Great Apes last year. And yeah, I mean, they look so happy in their new homes. So Michelle and Ana Paula, you have to thank your staff for all that they've done to make this happen. Because there's so many people behind the scenes. We had Suri here, but I mean, there's so many others who you're not seeing who did this too. And it worked. So thank you all. I know maybe Kate, can we put up the page with the contact info? Because I think we're almost out of time. And so if anyone wants more information, you can follow NAPSA here. You can follow Chimp Haven and Save the Chimps. And if you have any questions, you can always email NAPSA through our website, and that goes right to me. So I'll get you what you need. And again, we thank you for your support and your attention and for caring, because that's what got us here. We have some, I might need a tissue, but we're good. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and happy holidays.
Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
everyone. Happy holidays.
Happy
Thank
holidays.
you, everybody.
Thank you.
We did it.